Hi everyone, this is Kaiko Chiba from Akita International University. Today I would like you to have some experience of having course from Introduction to Japanese Society. Particularly, I would like today to share this topic is more related to gender course, gender discussions. What should we sustain? Voice from local women. To introduce myself, I am from Akita, and also at the same time, I am social anthropologist. I would like to share this point of view from anthropological point. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, at AIU, just to share a little bit of my background, at the campus, I teach Japanese society and gender studies, and we are discussing, for example, how the society has been moved to inclusive society, for example, welcoming Akita Pride March, that also successfully conducted this year. We also discussing in terms of traditional festival in Akita, for example, about the performance, historical background, how this gender roles has been passed through and where it should go. Now, I also teach Japanese traditional arts, and these courses we are discussing how the society interact with technology and new ideas to pass this art to the next generation. Now, at the same time, I am conducting a research about how to pass Akita traditional culture art to the next generation by interacting with digital archives. And particularly this year, we're trying to focus on how these digital archives can interact and can promote tourism in Akita Prefecture. Now the question arises, which part of the culture, which part of the history should we leave it and pass it down through digital archive? Which one for digital archive? Okay, now when we discuss this matter, it comes for the mind, we should debate about material culture. Material culture, if you study anthropology, you might come across, but it's a discussions related to how the one simple things has conveyed or has been interpreted throughout the different generation, different genders and discussions. This is a beautiful pictures of Pitt River Museum in Oxford. The anthropologists have heavily paid quite a lot of attention to how to display the simple material which has been collected, for example, outside of UK. There is a lot of discussions that how these materials should be displayed. which voice we should convey, which part of the stories should be emphasized. Now, here's another pictures from Ashmolean museums, but when we display object in the museums, it has been heavily focused whose point of view. Is it only researchers or collectors' point of view? Or should we also include the informant's point of view? That kind of topics has to be concerned when we are interacting with digital archive. Now, it reminds some of the discussions from also Daniel Miller. He discussed about material culture and mass consumption. And then it describes that each material has different interpretations. It's a very good book. I recommend you to read if you're interested in this topic. Now, again, the discussions come, what should we pass through the next generation? What should we sustain? Especially, we study about Japanese society, but since AIU is located in Akita, we also discuss a lot about some of the issues and topics in northern part of Tohoku. Within that, there is a discussions that we should emphasize on direct voices, hidden voices. For example, if we are focusing on Japanese culture, not only that, but in general, the metropolitan voices tend to be heard more when we are planning for policy, planning for village planning and preservation for the culture. It could apply also in the world, for example, in terms of colonial background. Second, local residents. Even if in Akita, the local residents' voice tend to be not heard, when you make a policy, the municipal voices might be strong. So that's another thing that we should highlight. And also low income and women's voice are still not heavily emphasized. Now, that kind of element, it should be concerned. Okay, now, I wonder if you can see some of the pictures. Maybe I move my, maybe not, okay. So, can you see the picture on the right side? If you can come across what kind of thing it is, it's called ensko, and this is used to be a crib for babies. Well, I think some of you have no idea what it is indeed, until we've been told. Not many people might recognize it. But just this simple baby crib, maybe we can also learn a lot of voices from the person who used. For example, through that, some of the stories of their poverty in 1930s evoke. Selling farmers' wives and daughters happened until, we could argue recently, until 1940s in northern part of Tohoku. Now, the farmers were not so financially well off, especially when they have a very bad weather, that they could not harvest very well. As a result, it was not rare to see the cases the wife's and daughter was temporarily sold or permanently sold. So that was a reality. Now, when I conduct interviews, some of the farmers commented, 80s in women, they didn't have any pocket money. And they had to ask their direct natal family, mothers or fathers, to borrow some money to buy their kids' notebook, shoes, and so on. That voices could still be heard, the women in 80s and 90s in Akita. Now there's another interview's results say, for example, in the middle, father is working with machine, but I had to do by hand, then housework, while he's reading his newspaper. Still, that kind of interview comments is heard by 80s women in Akita. And from the interviews, 90s man was commenting that when he was little, he was taken by an eagle because he was on this crib, but fortunately the eagle dropped him, so he wasn't killed, but instead of that he had a scar. So we could kind of imagine from this one single end score that the farmer's life was very severe. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, when we try to listen what's happening in our current life, some of the informants say, okay, say you want to engage with and become as a farmer's wife, quite a lot of people comments, oh, it might be interesting, but it is really hard. You still have to work so hard and not machinery work, details, little things. You still, wives tend to do more than husband. And these comments evoke a lot of gender issues in Japanese society. Now, so what kind of gender issues do we have in Japanese society? Say, for example, if you see the numbers, this was reported by Kyodo News, July 13th last year. They commented that the World Gender Equality Ranking, here you can read it, Japan ranks 116th in 2022. And this rank is the worst in East Asia and Pacific region. Now, it's very interesting. Japan has been considered or recognized as developed society, but in terms of the gender roles, it has been like this. There are some of the comments that in Asia, the Philippines remain the best performing country in 19th place, while South Korea ranked 99th and China 102nd. So it shows clearly where the Japanese gender roles residing in the world or recognized in the world. Now, here, this kind of clear gender roles can be seen very clearly in Akita Prefecture. This is the article by Sakigake newspaper. Now, this one was talking about how, let's see, close that one. They were discussing how the woman has been commented the person who unknown still be commented as oka-san, oksan, rather than the different expressions. This article comments about in Akita, we still have a very clear gender roles. Another one, this is another article from Sakigake newspaper. It does show that Akita has been ranked as very poor prefecture, not to encourage the quality of life for women. Kanyose is flexibility. Flexible ideas has not applied for women. And they were commenting quite a lot of women in 20s are leaving Akita prefecture. Now, if we go in details, flexibility tolerance measures, Akita prefecture's women's life position has been considered as 47th. How a family should be is considered 44th, and so on. So how many younger Akita women find it very uncomfortable to live in Akita prefecture. Now, here is some of the comments from the farmers. Do you see the picture on the right? These are some of the farming equipment. By looking at it, some of the people interpret like this. This is a comments from farmers, low income, so little money from farming. I do not recommend any of my family members to carry on. This is why people are leaving my town, but there's nothing I can do, no money, no less people, no public transportation. So this one simple farming equipment does convey message for us. This is some of the voices from low-income farmers. Now, when we are analyzing Japanese society, when we are analyzing gender roles in Japanese society, we also have to think about the hidden voices. Particularly in Akita prefecture, some of you might heard this term, efurikoki. Efurikoki is the term that everybody pretend that we are good. We are showing the really nice part of ourselves. That's also another reason that Akita prefecture has been recognized that, for example, even if we don't have enough income, which Akita has often been commented that's the lowest income prefecture in Japan, even that we don't have money, we spend a lot of money for our appearance. As a result, we have a lot of beauty parlors in Akita prefecture. When we invite people to house, even though we don't have enough money, we offer a lot of sake, a lot of food. And that's researchers comment that's part of the efurikoki. When we trying to engage with this hidden voices, we also have to learn about the concept of honor and shame. That comment has often been analyzed by anthropologists, that Japanese society has a clear boundary of inside and outside. When you come outside domain, that they are trying to apply this concept of honor and shame. They tend to, of course, want to leave a lot of honorary stories, but shame, concept of hazukashi, concept of shame is very strong in Japanese society. Compared to other society, hidden voices is still hidden. They feel very embarrassed to share. So what are we going to do? Even that people find it very embarrassed doesn't mean that we should always hide that voices throughout centuries. And that's something that we have to think. In anthropology, there is a book of veiled sentiment focusing on the Bedouin's woman. But if you opened the stories, there's a lot of stories in terms of gender issues, a lot of stories about how women really thought about their lives. That kind of hidden voices may be very important to leave it to the digital archives. Now, it's about the time that I have to say goodbye to you. I hope that you enjoyed my lecture. These kind of discussions we do at AIU for Japanese society discussions or gender courses. I hope I'm able to see you sometimes in the future. Thank you very much.